Hey guys, it's Ashley, and recently I have come to learn that there are some things that I don't like when I'm reading books. I know that people have made Bookish Pet Peeve videos in the past, but I have yet to make one, and so that is what I'm doing today. You know, when you're reading a book and, something is really irritating you, and it's just like picking at you as you're reading, and it's just making you not want to read anymore, that's what some of these things do to me when I'm reading. I've come to realize that there are some things in books that I just don't like. I don't like seeing. For some people, it's a certain trope. For some people, it's reading the line, "She released a breath she didn't know she was holding." But for me, it is 5 of different things that I will be sharing with you today. And please let me know if you share the same sentiment about these pet peeves, because they are just things that I've had enough of when I'm reading books. So the first bookish pet peeve that I want to share with you guys is what I have termed textbook writing. And I've noticed this in a few different books that I've read this year. This is what I call when an author takes a piece of the setting and decides to describe it by talking about a story that the main character has experienced as soon as she sees this piece of the setting. So for example, a character walks into a room and sees a jewelry box sitting on the table, and all of a sudden we get 3 pages of history of the jewelry box, where it came from, why she has it, what it means to her, instead of just showing us. Instead of just showing us by how she picks it up or the way she looks at it, or no, instead we have to go through 3 pages of where she got it. Why was it given to her? What happened to it? And I call it textbook writing because it's just kind of like the person is giving you a definition of what that is. It's just one thing that I don't like reading about, because for me it takes me out of the story, and there are so many different ways to show the history of a object or show what that object means to somebody instead of explaining. I do have some kind of, not really trope, but something that happens in books a lot that I've read this year, and that is when a character that we meet is part of some secret society that we didn't know about but are really unsurprised to find out about. I like the idea of a character being part of some secret society. I love that idea. I love it so much. I love reading about it. But there comes a time when that is done right and that is not done right. And when it's not done to how I like it to be done, it just falls apart for me. For some reason, this year, I've read a lot of books where I'm not thoroughly impressed with that kind of trope, idea, plotline thing. Trust me, I have in the past written stories that I've never finished where a character was part of some secret society that we don't know about but are unsurprised to find out about, and I never finished those stories, probably because I didn't like what I was writing. Now granted, I love secret societies. I love when, the chosen one trope happens and this chosen one is thrust into this secret world they didn't know about and they have to find out how to save everything. I love that. But there are times when, I don't, and it's hard for me to explain, but that's the best that I can do. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I've had enough. One of my biggest pet peeves is when authors don't use conjunctions. Oh my god, you guys don't know how much this irritates me. Okay, so you're reading a book, right? And you're reading a paragraph, and there's a sentence that goes, "We will find them." So if a character was giving a speech to people, and he was pronouncing each word and making sure that each word hit its mark, yes, I can see how a character will say, "We will find them." When somebody's just talking to somebody else, and they go, "We will find them." Like, that seems like one more syllable than we need in a sentence. To me, the phrase "we'll find them" versus "we will find them," it sounds more like something that somebody would say easily, something that would flow out of somebody's mouth, than "we will find them," or "I do not know where that is," instead of "I don't know where that is." It really aggravates me. You don't even know. This is like one of my top pet peeves that I have in books. I do understand, obviously, sometimes some people might not realize, some people, they just kind of type away and they don't really think about it, but when I'm reading a story, everything just breaks apart when I read "I do not know" versus "I don't know." That's like my biggest pet peeve. And it's so stupid. So my next one is something that you guys may or may not know about me. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you might have heard that I love reading in the third person point of view. It's my favorite point of view. I much prefer it over first person, though I do sometimes enjoy a first person book. The reason a lot of the time that I prefer third person over first person is because in first person, there are times when I'm reading a paragraph and some of the sentences, people will not think of these things in real life. And I understand that it's a book and sometimes it's a fantasy book and sometimes, you know, things are, you know, we're gonna think of things and my mind is not gonna work the same way that that character's mind is, but there's no way that a character can say the words, "my pupils dilate." There's no way that a person is going to think, "my pupils dilate." You know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna know that unless you're looking in the mirror? My tiff with first person point of view comes from that right there, when characters think things that people would not really think about in real life. That kind, you know what I mean? You know, like, how is somebody gonna know that their pupils are dilating? Sure, I can say his pupils looked dilated because I can see that, but I'm not gonna know that my pupils are dilating. And of course, that's not the only instance in a book that I've seen that this has happened, but it's genuinely the reason that I'm not crazy about reading the first person point of view. I much prefer third person because it's easier to read from somebody else telling the story than reading from the person telling the story. You know what I mean? Okay, and my final pet peeve that I want to mention is one that, you know, obviously you see in a lot of books where, you know, a guy and a girl are together and the guy is very, like, not really possessive or territorial, kind of like, imagine like Reese and Feyre, okay? Imagine their relationship, and let's say Feyre goes into a fight and Reese doesn't know about it, which happens a lot in the series, and she comes back and he's like, "Where did you go?" And all of a sudden we get this line says, "He looked her over for wounds." I hate that. I have such a pet peeve about somebody looking somebody else over for wounds, and I understand that it's because he cares about her and he wants to make sure that he's not hurt, but I really don't like it, and I am very over it. You get this a lot in Wattpad stories too. If you've ever read any kind of a Wattpad story, if you don't know what it is, it's an app on your phone. People can upload their stories to it. I've read a lot of Wattpad stories before I started YouTube and before I getting into more actual YA books, but you see it a lot there because a lot of the male protagonists that people write about in those books are very territorial and predatory and possessive and just not a good male protagonist. And you see it a lot there, and so that's why I think it bothers me. Also, especially in A Court of Thorns and Roses, it's told from the first person again. So when she says, "He looked my body over for wounds," I'm thinking, why do you know that? Like, how do you know what he's looking at you for? Like, I know you guys have some kind of like a mind link thing, but like, what? Alright everybody, and so those are my top 5 pet peeves at this moment. I'm sure later on down the road I will have many more to share with you guys, but those are them for now. Please let me know down below if any of you agree with anything that I've said, or if you have a pet peeve of your own that you really want to share, because I want to know more. I love watching pet peeve videos, it's so fun. I'm sorry if I bashed anything that you absolutely love to read in a book, but again, these are my personal opinions. Sometimes they change, most of the time they've been this way, and you know, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So yes, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye!